exciting one between these two storied franchises. How they got here, the New York Knicks defeated the Philadelphia 76ers in 6 games, while while the Indiana Pacers beat the Milwaukee Bucks also in 6 games. Indiana Pacers leading the playoffs in assists so far, while the New York Knicks have had one of the most efficient offenses as well, led by Jalen Brunson, who has scored 40 plus points in 4 straight games so far in the playoffs. Um, so, what's going to be the key for success with each of these two teams? For the New York Knicks, you have to look to slow down the Indiana Pacers and look to limit their possessions. How do you limit the possessions for the New York Knicks? You do that by slowing the pace of the game down. I believe the physicality of the Knicks and the size of the Knicks could prove to be an issue for the Indiana Pacers. If you're the New York Knicks, you also need to look to attack early, attack often. This is the Indiana team that doesn't play much defense as well. So you have to be selective with when you want to push in transition. But when you don't have a number, so this example, so you almost want to eliminate the secondary break if you're New York. Once you realize you have that, if it's a 4-on-5 advantage, or even if even a 3-on-5, you want to pull it back and run your offense in a half-court setting. That way, you're eliminating possessions for Indiana, and you only want to look to push if you know for sure you have a fast break opportunity. So basically, anything after a secondary break, if you're New York, you want to slow the pace down. You want to make Indiana play defense for the entire shot clock. That way, you can tire them out on defense, which forces them to be less efficient on the offensive end. However, if you're Indiana, the key to success is going to be limiting such second chance points. If you're Indiana, as you guys know, the New York Knicks are one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA, especially in the playoffs so far. And Indiana, once again, like I said, a team that doesn't like to play much defense, but they won the rebounding margin against Milwaukee, which is why they were able to defeat them. So for Indiana, you have to look to limit second chance opportunities on the offensive glass. For New York, and if you're Indiana, you have to look to push early and push often at all aspects. I'm talking secondary breaks, fast breaks. In any capacity, if you're Indiana, you have to look to push the ball. You have to make the Knicks run. So that's going to be the key to success for Indiana. And if you're New York, how do you guard the ball screens with Tyrese Halliburton? Do you go under them? Do you double it? Do you hard hedge it? How do you play it? Do you gap it? How do you what's the plan of attack? I don't believe you double those ball screens if you're Tyrese Halliburton. I believe you go under the ball screens, like Milwaukee did for some time. But I believe you show. I believe you show and recover. I believe you show and go. You show the big, and then the big shows until the guard recovers. I say that because New York plays amazing help side defense, so I'm not worried about the weak side rotations. If that skip pass off the ball screen gets there. But I don't believe you double that ball screen. You don't double that if you're New York on Halliburton and you go under, you allow him to shoot. If Tyrese Halliburton scores 40 points off hitting jump shots off the ball screen, then you live with that. That's okay. But you don't want to give up that penetration. You don't want to allow Tyrese Halliburton to get to the paint, get into the middle, so that way he's getting those skip passes to the shooters. Indiana. I don't believe you double it. Tyrese Halliburton. You don't double anybody on Indiana right now. If New York. And if you're Indiana, you have to either say, okay, we're not going to allow the supporting cast to get going for New York, i.e. Josh Hart and OG Anunoby and Dante DiVincenzo and Mitchell Robinson. You either say, okay, we're taking away the role players, or we're taking away Jalen Brunson. One or the other. In college we often talk about how we don't double in college because very rarely are you going to see a player score 40 or 50 points and that be enough to lead the team to a victory single-handedly. Obviously people think about Caitlin Clark, but that's an anomaly. That's such a rare example, and even that we saw that wasn't the recipe for winning at the highest level. So the NBA is a little different because these guys are so talented. These are the top 0.001% of talent in history. So these guys are talented enough for their 60, their 40, their 50 to be enough to will a team to victory. So you have to be a little more delicate when making that decision. In college, you could say, yeah, okay, we're not going to double Brunson. If you want to score 40, 50, whatever, go for 40, do it. But that's not going to be enough to beat us. Your supporting cast isn't going to beat us. We're not going to double you. If you're Indiana, though, in this series right now, I do believe you have to double Jalen Brunson. I believe you go in the route if you double Brunson. You don't allow Brunson to get going, especially in that New York crowd and that atmosphere. You get the ball out of Brunson's hand, and you force the supporting cast to beat you. You force the supporting cast to beat you, but you can't allow Brunson to get his 40, his 35. You got to get the ball out of Brunson's hands early, because the earlier you get it out of Brunson's hand, the longer you have to force the supporting cast to make decisions with the ball, and that's when you start to struggle. The longer amount of time you can force the supporting cast in New York to have the ball in their hands, to make decisions and make plays with the ball as opposed to just shooting, then that's going to bode well for success for the Indiana Pacers. So that's the key for success in Indiana. I believe you double Jalen Brunson, get the ball off his hand early, put the ball in the supporting, get the ball in the hands of the supporting class earlier, and force them to make a play. That's going to be the key to success for Indiana. What's my prediction for this series? I believe that the New York Knicks will win this game in 6 games. Will win the series in 6 games. I believe the physicality and the rebounding margin is going to be the biggest key for success to victory for the New York Knicks. And I believe the Indiana Pacers will struggle to get out on the break, because I believe the New York Knicks can do a good job of stopping the ball early and also just limiting possessions for Indiana and get them out of the flow offensively. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you guys think this is going to be a 7-game series? Do you think it's going to be a clean sweep either way? Do you guys have Indiana winning this series? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. But in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing another second-round matchup, this time in the Western Conference. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.